Rebel Moon Part 2 review. Part 2. The one where they stop caring about harvesting wheat.
It's the grain piled against the building so we can't destroy them. Stacked to discover to shoot from. Clever.
I would kill for a focus group right now.
By saying, Snyder sucks.
Yeah.
You're also saying, give me some more focus groups.
But the capital ship arrives at the planet in slow motion and to dramatic music.
I want Happy Meals.
Just in case you weren't aware at the importance of the villains turning up at the hero's base. Subtle. Either way, Cora gets in her ship and flies off. A long way. She actually goes all the way into the mountains and flies halfway up a vertical cliff face through a waterfall. I'm not even thinking, how did she know it was there? I'm thinking, how does she get down again? Because I thought she was just going to sit here until she was needed in the fight and then fly out. It's like, oh no. She goes back to town, even though it'd be like a 2-day journey, including climbing equipment.
Way to set feminism back a few decades.
Speaking of things that don't make any sense, she leaves the ship. And somehow, a robot returned. You do realize that means he was by the town and then ran after the ship and got there basically at the same time. That dude is fast. Surprising you never see it in the movie. Never puts it to use at all.
Hello, James.
Who the fuck is James? And how do you know what his name is? He was barely in the first movie.
The last person who called me that was the old commander as he died in my arms.
Alright, dude, he only called you James. You didn't have to kill him. Just seems like a bit of an overreaction, mate.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why are you apologizing to him? It sounds like he's the one who killed him. Don't call me James! Barg.
It's all right. I like the way it sounds.
Once the rigor mortis kicked in.
It makes me feel something other than hopelessness.
Sadism.
You see, I was given memories of a world I will never see.
You can't lore dump us the robot. We don't know anything about the robot. I was given memories. Hang on, can you just explain that bit? Because I didn't even know that bit.
Loyalty to a king I cannot serve, and love for a child I could not save.
To be fair, both of those are her fault, so maybe you should be taking that vengeance out on her rather than meeting her in cosplay.
Lets me feel, even in the smallest way, why I exist at all.
To take vengeance on the murder of the daughter that you took from me. That's his next line. I'm loyal to the king and the daughter, both of which are her fault.
Is that why you saved Sam?
Who's Sam? Oh, can we stop using people's names? Nobody knows who they are.
The thought of her being hurt or destroyed opened a part of me that had been closed.
When he's made out of metal, that could be literal.
Understand, their nightmare is you and I fighting together.
How do we know? We've not seen him do anything. Spoiler alert, in the rest of the movie, he doesn't do anything either. He has one scene. The scene is shorter than the current scene.
Not because we're ordered or commanded.
But because we used to work for them, tried to get held accountable for the crimes we committed, and now we're desperately trying to avoid the fate we deserve.
But to defend something we love.
Shame you didn't do that with the princess, really, isn't it, dear?
You must know you cannot win.
I mean, I've already seen the movie once, but on the rewatch, I'm hoping things can change. Please, can she not win? So they're laying mines underneath in their tunnel network. And obviously, these are secret and hidden. That's why he's putting them behind a cloth on a wall. But, as happens in any stealth mission, obviously, they need to do this. Hang on, can you hear a beeping? Yeah, I think it's coming from that cloth over there. Very subtle. Also, is there much point hiding them in the walls when you can clearly see the wires going between them in your underground base? Oh, I didn't know wires were naturally in soil. But my favourite is as he leaves. People always say, I can't believe you've defused a bomb with 1 second left. Zack Snyder, though, does things with a different twist.
All set.
Oh, that's lucky. Yes, sir, our defences are finished. Oh, they've arrived. What a coincidence. I'm sorry, mate, but why are you surprised? This is the same ship that was here before. It's like, oh, I didn't know they had one of those. Well, you should have done. We've seen it before.
Dreadnought.
Yeah, you knew a dreadnought was coming. We've seen it before. So they start desperately putting the final touches on all the holes that they've dug. The ship can see them doing this, but for some reason doesn't bother. Because the ship has a complex scanning system.
These are the new formation. It's the grain. Clever.
It's grain, mate. It's not that clever. Need I remind you? They don't even really want the grain. They're here for Scargiver.
Look, they piled it against the building so we can't destroy them. And there, they've stacked to discover to shoot from.
Only for about 3 minutes at the start of the first movie did anyone even mention grain. It's not a big What a bunch of tossers.
'Cause I ain't got a brand new combine harvester.
Even then it was only, we just want your grain. It wasn't, we need your grain or we're going to starve. No one has ever really cared about pissing grain.
Clever.
But as you can see in their scanning system, it does seem to be specially calibrated to pick up bags of grain for some reason that no one's quite worked out yet. It can also see through buildings. Our walls, no problem for us because it can detect all the people through a wall. Not soil though, no. I mean, it does get fooled by soil. And not much of that either. As you can see when he's underground, light is coming through the ceiling because there is so little soil on top of it. The scanning device is basically Doctor Who's sonic screwdriver. It doesn't work on wood. Well, unless it's in the shape of a building anyway.
Clever. Certainly not the plans of a farmer.
What? You see firing positions made out of flour and wheat stacked around buildings and you go, yeah, a farmer would never do that. A farmer wouldn't be stupid and self-centered enough to think that wheat would protect him in battle. Well, he values flour, so he must think we value flour as well. Despite the fact we have spaceships, this is exactly what a farmer would do. Make defenses out of the only thing he's got. Make defenses out of things that he values. His produce.
Seems General Titus hasn't drunk away his wits just yet.
We've got to tell you how good this general is because you'll never be able to tell it from his plan.
Thermal imaging shows clusters of people in the longhouse at the top of the village.
This is another thing where I thought the movie had more depth than it did. I'm sorry, Zack. I will never overestimate you again.
I want Happy Meals.
Because they think it's something different. So they come up with a plan that we can actually drop people behind enemy lines, capture the women and children, and use that to blackmail all the people into surrendering. It's a good plan. In fact, it's such an obvious plan, and General Titus is supposedly so intelligent, I thought he'd twisted it around. I thought he'd predicted it and then laid a trap for them, especially due to how obvious and badly explained the exposition was. No, it just is that simple. It's just women and children in there.
While I negotiate, we'll dispatch the Cryptea to capture the women and children.
Yeah, there is no depth. That's exactly the entire story. So Cora realizes she stands out and obviously wants to look like everybody else again. Slashes all her hair off as the armor comes into land. And look, all I'm saying is that these tanks look remarkably like Starbug from Red Dwarf. So they fly down all of this armor, most of which you'll never see. Seriously, I don't know where it goes. All because they don't want to blow up some flour, which they could get on any planet, even though they don't really care about the flour anyway, because they're after the Scargiver. Also, as you can see in the back, there are loads of fighters all over the place. They don't do anything for the entire fight, right up until some more fighters come to blow them all out the air, despite the fact that they've done nothing the entire fight. Zack has extreme temporary nature, where basically anything that's not on the screen just ceases to exist. Legitimately forgets about them. He's like, look, we need some fighters to guard our planes, but they won't do anything when they're there.
Come inside now!
Come on,
Let's go, come on!
Yeah, they would be the women and children. You know those women and children. The one that the spaceship turned up and scanned them because they were already in the building.
Thermal imaging shows clusters of people in the longhouse at the top of the village.
But no, quick, get in the building that we've already seen you inside before. They're like Schrodinger's women and children. They can be inside and outside simultaneously. But the ships come down and land, dropping off armor, and send a small contingent right outside the village. Luckily, as you can see, Cora has made the 2 or 3 day trek down the mountain back into the town on foot. Let's hope she doesn't need that spaceship anytime soon. Let's certainly hope it's not integral to the entire plan. Because for now, the general, which bangs octopuses, octopi, octopendages, has come to negotiate. And look, all I'm saying is she looks even more like that first bloke now. Look, it's basically the spitting image. It's like the hairdresser that can only do one style. It's like, no, it'll look great on you, trust me. It doesn't everybody else. Or that one surgeon in Hollywood who keeps giving everybody the same nose.
No village welcome, no?
I mean, they literally are here to meet you. What more do you want?
Where's my warm embrace?
I'm not being funny, but you want a warm embrace from someone that looks like they're about to change their name to Dave. So he decides to prove to her that, well, you left me this mark. I don't know why the loser is bragging to the person who was victorious. Right, oh, didn't you do a good job when you defeated me in battle before? What a tactical genius.
Let's go. From the Scargiver herself.
Zack Snyder really isn't as smart as he thinks he is he?
Vote against me is a vote for the focus group version.
Actually, I will take the focus groups at this point, because through wisdom of crowds alone, they're gonna be smarter than you. But she starts to threaten him for some reason. I don't know, oh, am I supposed to be scared of your peasantry? Even if she knew she was going to win, without proving it to him first, it is stupid to expect him to believe you.
I'll offer you one chance to avoid slaughter.
I would have just laughed in your face. She's actually lucky he doesn't just shoot her in the head right now.
We do understand what what the Regent Belisarius will give me when I bring you to your knees before him, don't you?
I didn't realize she was that skilled down there, but maybe he knows something I don't. He doesn't want you until you're on your knees. So she starts threatening him, you can take the wheat to get you home, but leave everybody here unharmed, otherwise you will lose.
You think you have any power with which to negotiate? You do not.
Which is the only logical conclusion for the guy who literally has a capital ship in orbit. I could just fly back up there and nuke you anytime I wanted. You literally do not have the weapons to touch the ship. But then, the plot gets really stupid, because we see the guys going for the women and children in the town. And he says, I could leave everybody alone and just take the grain that you wanted, but there would be one cost.
And that cost is you. One most sought after by the Honorable Regent is you.
And the most insane part is, she starts going along with it. Literally, just before this happened, we had everybody lined up round a table and we gave our backstories. Those backstories exist for one reason. Because it wasn't characterization. They exist so the general and everybody else can go, these people do not negotiate.
I begged for mercy from the regent to spare them, but mercy is not known to the regent Belisarius.
They will give you a deal, you will surrender, and they will kill everybody anyway.
To punish me, my men were executed before my eyes.
That was the entire point that the general made.
How my surrender betrayed their courage and condemned them to their fate.
I will never surrender because they'll do it again.
Never again. I'll never surrender. You should understand that today before you choose to follow me tomorrow.
She was there, she heard it, and she completely ignored the entire moral of the story. To believe anything in this movie, you have to be an idiot. You have to be as thick as the characters involved.
So herein lies your choice. Brotherly, surrender to me.
It'd be really stupid if you made that choice though, wouldn't it? And as they line up outside the women and children, I'm like, oh, they've definitely laid a trap in there. They'll go in, it'll be all their best fighters, all the best blokes, just to deliberately wipe out the people coming for them. This is probably fake, right? They definitely wouldn't have the women and children in there to fight them. That'd be stupid. I bet they're in a different building, and when they dive in, we'll see that, and there'll be a different cut with different people. They won't expect a tiny little boy with a butter knife to try and defend himself.
Currently sheltered up in that longhouse. They'll be slaughtered by my men on the way to them now.
No, they won't be slaughtered. They're so smart, they've got a great plan. They're just tricking him.
Are you truly prepared to allow this to continue in your name?
And she's like, no. So she pissing surrenders. You're like, no, don't set it off. We don't want to fight them. I want to surrender so I can watch you all get killed later.
To punish me, my men were executed before my eyes.
Cora.
Bearing in mind, those people were all around the longhouse before. They never go in. They must just line up outside the door like that and then just wait forever. So he gives up and drops the hammer.
How my surrender betrayed their courage and condemned them to their fate.
She surrenders and hugs the guy one last time, only for him to realize you're a weak, pathetic little cow.
I'm sorry. I won't allow this place to die for me.
Except she knows it will die for her because she knows she's going to get betrayed. Because that was the entire point of the story.
Never again. I'll never surrender.
Lying to you.
Everybody else knows that was the point of the story. So he takes a gun and makes the bell ring with it on its own. We never did enter that longhouse, by the way. They just walked up to the door and stood there for a bit. Luckily, they come out the ground like the worms they are. Carrying these spaceship-destroying rocket launchers, which I don't really know why were on the planet in the first place. They do work quite well, though.
The arms race crazy. Simply way out of control.
After this, all hell breaks loose. Those people run away, I don't know why. It's not like they retreat and then guard the entrance to the tunnels. In fact, they seem to forget that entrance exists at all. No, they just run all the way through the tunnels, leaving the entrance exposed so they can all get slaughtered later. We pop up out of another hole, which, let's face it, is where the peasants belong. Start mowing everybody down.
We need to get you up to that ship.
Yeah, it'll only take us about 2 days to get back to that location and then climb a pissing mountain. Luckily, our plan doesn't rely on this. Especially doesn't rely on it being timed to perfection.
Come on, you're our only chance.
You're our only chance. That's how integral getting 2 days travel away and up a mountain is. It's literally the key to our plan, so why were we pissing here? I'd also like to point out, the moment that she rides out of that town, they can just nuke it from orbit because she's the only thing they came here for. Nobody came here for the grain, ever. So they ride off and it'll be like, we'll probably get there in at least 36 hours maybe. I'm gonna have to get that climbing gear ready to scale the waterfall. The general though, he's got a different plan. He's decided I'm gonna drop down the tunnel that just blew up my ship.
The worms battled on through hunger and pain.
And hope that nobody is just standing there guarding it, ready to shoot me as soon as I drop down, like you would assume they would. He even does a superhero landing, and luckily, no one's watching the pissing open door. And I know from that cut you're thinking, oh no, they did. This is clearly the guy approaching her head on and the door's behind him. No. He comes from there. The door's over in this direction, behind her. She's not even pissing watching. Oh, you get what you deserve.
The final onslaught. No better bullet could you possibly have bought.
I know nobody expected her to have a sense of direction, but there's only two ways she could be looking. And yes, we get a hallway scene. Luckily, nobody can hit him for some reason. I'm about to shoot you. Oh, I'm gonna duck then. Well, I'm not gonna adjust my aim. I've committed now. And the peasants also get extremely lucky, because for some reason this ship decided to set off with its back doors open. And as anybody who's been to a Diddy party knows, always guard your back doors. You have to watch them at all times, otherwise you never know what's gonna get shoved up there. That's how this guy manages to pop out of the ground with a grenade pack.
Bring around the main gun!
Or, and hear me out on this, you're in a spaceship, fly upwards. Once you're above a certain height, they can't do anything to you. So the guy yeets the grenades up his back door.
Oh, damn.
And another one dies due to his own stupidity.
Spare a thought for Boggy, and with it his friend.
Seriously, just press the close hatch button. This isn't complicated.
Fight with their honor, and fight until the end.
So Cora's off on her horse to desperately try and cut down the multiple hours journey she's gonna have to go through. And the people outside the longhouse have finally decided maybe we should enter the doors after about 5 minutes of waiting. Don't worry though, we've only got one defender, and she's a melee user. Your laser shot should finish that off right rapid. Although the stupid thing is several of them do seem to have brought swords to a sword fight. I'd just be like, oh, you've got a sword. Ah, get back to my gun then, this will be way easier. I don't know why we're trying to engage in a fair fight in a war. Complete and utter overwhelming power would be my strategy, but, you know, out of the 5 of them here, they only brought one gun. Yeah, her swords can deflect lasers, even in one bit. Have we seen where she's deflecting lasers? She's standing over here, and for some reason, he's shooting here. I'm gonna deflect all these beams that aren't even aimed at me for some reason that no one's quite worked out yet. So she takes out the guy with the gun first, because obviously he's the dangerous one, and then moves on to the people with swords, because they're irrelevant, let's be honest. They would have mattered if they had guns as well. And if there was 5 people shooting her, let's see you deflect those with 2 arms. Why are the interplanetary space militia actually carrying swords in the first place? Hold! Hold! No one fire! You know you're going to miss and shoot her in the back. So she has a slow motion fight against about 4 blokes. Remember in the first movie where she took on a giant space spider creature? I mean, that was way more interesting than this. I don't know if you know, Zach, but lightsaber fights actually look better the faster they are, not the slower they are. This is one of the many reasons why Disney Star Wars sucks. At that moment, more people come in from the other side of the barn. These people also brought swords from their spaceship, and one guy with a gun. They take out the guy with the gun first again because he's still the only dangerous person there. I'd like to point out that the girl that's never used a gun before can speed load before a guy can move 5 foot and stab her with a sword. This is the power of fallopian tubes. Because immediately afterwards, we actually have a comparison between the girl that's never used a gun before and the trained military soldier. Who doesn't fire his weapon because there's a guy waving a bit of metal at him for a bit. This is the only guy with professional training that does it for a living. But his center of balance is a bit far forwards. And for some reason, that just means you have to be awful at everything. Some people would say that would be his fault. I would say it's the insecure, bitter cows that are responsible, but that's just me.
I take responsibility.
Responsibility.
I mean, I do wonder where the little farmer girl's gone. She's taken out too. She could easily speed load and get this guy again. But she seems to just be enjoying him getting the crap beaten out of him for a bit. Go, oh, please, please, sir. I'm just a man. Can a woman come along and save me? Please. Anyone! The thing I need right now! Empowerment! No, we're gonna cut there. We'll just leave him to suffer on the ground for a bit more. Even looking like Cora couldn't save him. By this point, General's walked all the way through the tunnels, killing everybody in them, and he's getting on his ship. Wolverine takes that opportunity to charge him. It doesn't exactly end well for him. Yeah, mate, did I tell you how strong he is? You have to build a massive beard across half your face just to fake the fact you look like Wolverine. You're basically a space cosplayer. Now, somehow, Cora has made the 2-day journey and climbed halfway up a massive mountain to get to the ship. Nobody knows how, and it doesn't make any sense, but this is Zack Snyder. His movies don't need to. I'm an artist, you see.
Clever.
And Wolverine, well, he makes a similar trip to Cora, but in the opposite direction. And a lot faster. Now, the two ships are going back to the capital ship. Luckily, they don't have radar or anything. There's no kind of scanners behind them to make sure that when they're in a dogfight with another ship, they can tell where it is. What I'm saying is these interplanetary space people have no technology on them at all that's of use. Because Cora takes off.
They'll drop into formation.
And now we find the plan. She's going to drop into formation behind them and go back to the capital ship. So her timing was incredibly precise. And the single most important part of the entire plan, that she went back to town just so she could have a little talk, surrender, and then make a 2-day journey in about 5 seconds for. So this guy has a smoke grenade to make it look as if they're damaged. And they fly back to the ship, begging for help, going, "Oh, we're too injured. Can you remotely control our plane for us, please?"
We've got you, soldier. I'm gonna put you down into the main hangar.
Yeah, we wouldn't need any security for this random ship that's come back from a battle that they've lost. Just a quick check, soldier. What are the security codes? But of course, this is an empire which is intelligent and powerful enough to take over the universe. They're just not smart enough to come up with security codes. Back on the ground now, somehow, more enemies have returned.
Time has come. Protect each other and show them no mercy.
What were they doing before? In fact, why are you still hiding in a shed? Why weren't you helping with the battle before?
But the worms battled on through hunger and pain.
For Sindri!
For who? Who's Sindri? I thought this was the planet Teft or something. Ah, broke my foot! So they come diving out, and for some reason, the soldiers are facing every direction except the only direction that they've been fighting from. In fact, even as this guy is shooting them, the soldiers still haven't responded to them all pouring out of a door screaming. This soldier legitimately watches his 2 soldiers go down next to him, still hasn't turned or taken cover. Now we've cut to 2 people. There are 2 people on this bridge. What happened to the rest of them? Where have they gone? That was just one cut to one cut. There was about 0.5 seconds in the middle of it. Now, I'm no trained soldier, but I do think that the most dangerous part of a gun is the barrel. You know, the bit that fires plasma. I could shoot him from the dangerous end of the weapon, or I could hit him with the safe bit, which is designed to go on my shoulder.
We can't let Titus and the others do all the work.
Wait, why were you letting Titus and the others do all of the work? Is this why they were looking in the other direction? Were you meant to flank them from that side, but for some reason decided to stay behind your doors? So all of those soldiers were reacting to a flank that hadn't physically happened yet. They're like, no, I know there's people shooting us from over there, but I've got this weird feeling about that other door. Any second now, that's gonna open and then we'll be in trouble. Oh, no, he shot me.
Are you ready to fight and die?
Stop talking and go out there and help your friends, which are already fighting and dying, you little cretins. We need to go out there and help our friends, but first let's have a conversation about death. Who was it that said the point of war is not to die for your country, it's to make the other guy die for his? Apparently it was George S. Patton.
Let's leave the dying to your enemies.
Somehow Snyder managed to steal the quote and make it worse. That's quite impressive.
His tail was split and his energy lost.
So they decide to dive out with the guy in front of them having swords. I just think a laser would be more powerful, especially as you're in this situation. This guy can hit you at range. You have a couple of butter knives. You better hope that at no point does he even attempt to defend himself, because otherwise you're in trouble. Luckily, he never attempted to defend himself, otherwise he would have been in trouble. And the next guy. I've got this laser I'm not going to fire it though. I'm just going to point it at you for a bit. I'm sorry if you find this intimidating. Meanwhile, back with the women and children who were defended by one person who doesn't have any arms. She is so lucky they only brought swords. Okay, maybe she's not that lucky. For some reason, 3 people can beat... She's meant to be an excellent fighter. She couldn't even take on 3 people with swords. This bit was especially painful for Mark the Cyborg. I love the little kid with his butter knife. Come and help you. Anytime now. Okay, why did she try to block a sword with a blunderbuss? Use the dangerous end of it. Why are we gripping her by the throat? None of this makes any sense anymore. He's only dead because he was like, I'm just going to stand here for half an hour and do not... Are you coming? No, you're supposed to come and... Yeah, it's your mark now. Come on. None of this movie works unless everybody is an idiot. She realizes she's got another arm and continues to fight. Back on the ground now, and for some reason, we've decided to go through the tunnel system. Remember, the Admiral already cleaned it out once, and for some reason, the rats have gone back inside. Why, when we were building this tunnel system, did we not build in any fortifications to the actual tunnels for us to fight with? Who knows? I guess standing out in the open of a tunnel is just a good idea. You get what your pissing deserve. Then, Zack Snyder gets very upset. Oh, they seem to be losing the fight. They're dying in the tunnels. They brought axes to an interplanetary space fight. And he realizes my only chance is to blow everybody up. Blow everybody up. And so, as our general decides it's a good idea to charge 5 people who have laser rifles just with his hand... Yeah, I'm gonna put you on my shoulders and hope that none of the 20 people on the bridge shoot me as I've got my arms in the air and I'm unable to defend myself. The lead bloke looking at him going, what on earth is that prat doing? So as he pressed the detonator, they reach him just in time to see him about to detonate it, and all across where they landed, where all of those ships were, boom. I mean, it doesn't really achieve much because there's no infantry left there. They moved into the town. But that would have made a perfect row of explosions for all of the spaceships that landed there not long ago. Back on the spaceship, they've now found Cora and the other bloke. They keep being like, they look injured, but I can't find any wounds. No one finds this suspicious. Back with Nemesis, who's been allowed to get up from the ground because for some reason, even though they just defeated her, no one decided to make sure that was permanent. So that guy kind of got what he deserved. As did she, in slow motion. Look, I've seen Ahsoka, she'll be fine. It's hot, so it probably just cauterized the wound. I think that's how that works. So then, the little kid with his tiny little pointy butter knife goes... Did you see how long that guy had to hold his position as he hears screaming and running from that direction, and at no point thought, I should probably look over there, maybe pull my sword out and attack the oncoming threat? No, instead the guy turns into a pissing statue. Are you gonna move? Move? No. Oh, that really hurts. Thinking about it, I don't know why I didn't do something to defend myself from the tiny little child that I heard. Don't pick him up, just hit him. Oh, this is my show of force. Every villain in this movie just has an obsession with picking people up by their neck and holding them there so they can also attack them back again. Because let's not forget, that's how Nemesis beat the spider in the first movie, because she got picked up rather than actually getting attacked. We get a moment between her and a tiny child. I think it's meant to be emotional. It isn't. It does go on forever, though.
You did good.
Yeah, but you didn't. You fought like ass. So she has a little nap, and I'm just glad she didn't fall over in slow motion, to be honest. And everyone else kind of crowds around her, and they're probably thinking, if only they'd given us guns, we could have defended ourselves. Much like zombies, though, somehow the enemy soldiers have returned. And this guy still thinks that his axe is going to be useful at range when the guy next to him has a laser rifle. In slow motion. Look, all I'm saying is, I'd shoot the guy with the axes first. He can't fire back, he can't defend himself. It's the definition of a sitting duck. You kill way more people moving at a normal speed, dude. The funny thing is all these people going over the bridge as well, as if this is some big massive lake that's impossible to cross. I can't even see any water in there. Like maybe here, you'd probably jump over it. Now that's art. Now somehow, a guy with axes has run up the bridge. The straight line with no cover, you can't dodge up. Nobody just went bang. No. Then we get a shot of how much water there is. Yes, you can jump this river. It's not difficult. You don't need a bridge. Why is the axe guy not just shot? He's the easiest person to hit in the world. But then, just as they think they've won and they've wiped out an entire capital ship worth of people in one wave... I've fended off space pirates with axes for some reason. You can tell they're Americans, can't you? What would the English celebration be? Nice one, chaps. Now off to the longhouse. Let's get ourselves a brew. That guy was a bit slow, wasn't he? He's like, why is everyone cheering? Hang on. Yeah! Wait, why is she cheering? They weren't even fighting. What are you cheering for? But no. You thought that the capital ship only dropped off 20 men? How about a tank? And quite a few more infantry as well. Now, it turns out the general hadn't planned for normal military equipment. He'd only planned on swords and axes. So his new strategy is to hide. Now, the ship, for some reason, really hates like orange juice or something in slow motion, and everyone hides as the tank basically annihilates all of them. Back with the medics now. Oh, there's a wound, but I can't find the wound. Where's the wound?
Strange, I'm not seeing any wounds.
Have you considered taking the clothes off the person so that you can see the flesh, which might be wounded?
How about that one?
I'm not going to take the top off. Has that one gone anyway? No, don't bother taking their clothes off. No, we'll leave that for the director's cut, where we actually inspect them properly. And so when they take a mask off, suddenly... Oh, now I've decided I can spring into act. I don't know why I waited for my face to be revealed first before I did it, but I did. John Wick, you ain't. Also, you almost shot your friend in the face. Even looks at us as if you almost shot me in the face. So now their plan becomes, we split up and we plant explosives throughout the ship. But first we must kiss. She still manages to look in pain after it happens, though. I don't know what happened. Maybe she's broken her lips.
I'll be waiting for you.
I wouldn't bother, mate. Judging by that expression, it's not going to last after the movie anyway. Back with the tank now that we have absolutely no ability to fight. I do question why these people weren't doing anything before. No, we got to wait before they spring the trap against the thing which is immune to our weaponry. Literally just bounces off it. I don't know what you try. I don't even know why you're bothering. They're not the only ones with an entirely pointless battle strategy, though. Oh, look who it is. Yeah, you can't kill the tank either, love. I don't know why you're bothering. Do we not know that a tank is immune to small arms fire? At least try and shoot the infantry around the tank, maybe. But Cora's on the ship and she sees a patrol coming the other way. Luckily, Cora is a master of disguise. Yeah, if I just face this wall and start to read the text on it, no one's gonna be suspicious. Witty. And somehow she manages to reach the central nervous system of the ship. It doesn't even have any doors guarding it, let alone security procedures. Quite frankly, it's amazing these don't get sabotaged more often. Jump back to the tank now, which is just kicking ass, basically. They get what they deserve. She realizes, oh, actually, tanks are pretty dangerous. Maybe I'm gonna have to do something about it. And so down into the tunnels we go. Well, I say tunnels. She does like to get wet. Back on the ship, Cora starts planting explosives onto the face, which seems to be literally spewing the ship's cables out of its mouth for some reason. Wasn't even guarded. And while the tank is annihilating all of her friends, she swims along the river to get behind the tank with a knife in her mouth. She could have brought the gun, but couldn't be bothered. Luckily, finds a guy just randomly standing around there for a bit. That tank really seems to hate that door, doesn't it? And then, as she walks up behind the tank, look what we find! The exact weapon that we need to destroy the boss is right next to the boss. At this point, we're basically playing a video game. She's walked along and gone, oh, look, there's a lot of armor and health packs here. Oh, there's a save point. This must mean there's a boss fight round the corner. And I've found a rocket launcher. I wonder if the boss is weak to rockets. Yes. Yes is the answer. She found the exact weapon to kill the tank 5 meters behind it. It's a good job she left her assault rifle in that house because, as we all know, in video games, you can't carry 2 primary weapons. So she had to carry a knife so that she could actually pick up the weapon in the first place. Now, Cora really hates this guy's face, and she's basically made it look like a plasterer's radio in high explosives. And as she arms all of the explosives, for some reason, the brain wakes up and starts looking at her. No, I don't know either. I understand the whole, it looks cool. But if you're going to do things like this, there does actually have to be an in-law universe explanation for it. And you really should have set it up with the audience. Something like, these ships are actually human people that we put into ship form, and they are self-aware. Of course, the one thing she didn't predict was that the central nervous system, the brain, the most important part of the ship, would be guarded by an idiot. Because he sees her planting explosives on the ship's core. She doesn't even know he's there yet. Just shoot the little cretin. He's literally 1 second away from going, hello? Is there anybody there? So of course she turns around and notices him. This isn't suspicious with all these explosives in front of me. And he takes so long. I don't think he's even moving in slow motion. This is a Zack Snyder film, so I can't tell, but I don't think he's moving in slow motion. No, he's just like, oh no, look at me. Even though I'm moving at a normal pace, I'm gonna just pull my gun out really slowly. As a security guard, I hope you're not faster than me. And then he falls into the piles of coal. Because you never saw that coming, did you? Yes. This interplanetary spaceship that can travel through portals is steam-powered with coal. They haven't even invented petroleum yet. It was at this moment Elon cancelled his Netflix subscription. And now, rather than escaping the way she came in, she decides, quite like the look of that coal actually, and starts to shoot the engine people. They're just shoveling coal. Why would they even have weapons in the first place on their own ship? If anything, this is the surf class, and she's like, yeah! So that guy tries to hit her with a spade, but she has just shot 2 of his mates. So he's perfectly justified to defend himself as she kicks him into an oven. None of them have any weapons. They're just like, oh my god, someone's attacking me for no reason whatsoever. Cora is the villain. She is the villain. She didn't shoot the guy who's calling for backup, the only one of them in uniform who's there to guard the peasants, but she'll happily wipe out the peasants.
Repeat, intruder.
She's ignoring him as he's calling for backup because she's getting her rocks off, killing all the peasants.
Sending backup. What is the nature and number of the intruders?
Well, it's just one, but she is a wench, so, you know, that gives her bonus points.
There are shots fired. There are men down.
I'm sorry, what's that? You said there are men down? Oh, well, just leave it then. We don't care about those people. Can you call back when she attacks somebody important, please?
It's a woman, I'm telling you.
It's a woman. So, did you hear who said it's on the ship? Send everything.
He said a woman has infiltrated the ship.
Not a woman. Anything else but that. How are we going to defend against one of those, Captain? We haven't planned for this.
That's it. You may fire on the village.
And it's at that moment that he realizes, hang on, I never even cared about the grain. Why did I start caring about the grain just because somebody on the planet misassumed my motivation?
I want to capture it at once. You may fire on the village.
Because we only came here for the Scargiver anyway. So the moment we realized the Scargiver wasn't in the town, we can just blow him up. All that time they spent harvesting and milling was literally pointless. When Zack Snyder was talking about why he uses so much slow motion in Rebel Moon, he says the answer is obvious. Slow motion is awesome. It's a way for me to embellish heroic moments that our heroes go through. Heroic moments like this. What a bunch of tossers. Where we toss grain that has literally no point.
Sir, the grain.
Nobody's ever cared about the grain at any point in 2 movies. We just asked for it at the start.
There's no need for the grain now.
There was never a need for the pissing grain. If it's not useful now, it was never useful.
The Scargiver has come to us.
I don't know how those 2 sentences are connected. When was the grain gonna get you the Scargiver?
We have men on the ground.
Why do you care about your men now, mate? You didn't care about your men when he was shooting them in the face in the medical office, did you?
Once we have the Scargiver, we'll return directly to the Motherworld. We won't need the grain, will we?
We don't even need the grain. None of us are starving. We've got plenty of food to return to the Motherworld. What the pissing problem?
We won't need the grain, will we?
I'd also like to point out that this entire line is said over his shoulder because he didn't actually say it and it was put in afterwards. Because I think Zack realized that his story didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense, but at least he tried.
Destroy it.
Meanwhile, her fancy man has reached one of the escape ships, and she's running through the ship with a little pistol. We jump back to the surface, where the only way this woman survives is if everybody else around her is as stupid as she is. She only has a little butter knife because she left her gun at home. They literally have to walk right up to her without even spotting the fact that she's in front of them. So she can attack their feet. I don't know what's happened in this universe, but the IQ really has declined. She's also incredibly strong to be able to, just with a few of her fingertips, pull that guy over and flip him. She must have superhuman strength. You'd never tell from her arms. And the fact that I'm using the word her. And I mean, to be fair, this is kind of the fight that just keeps getting more absurd as time goes on. So here you are. All these people just decided to converge on her hole at the same time. Is it a war? Is it a fun Saturday night? Maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know why that guy tried to grab her rather than just shoot her in the face. I I don't think her love tap on his shoulder's gonna do much to him either, even though, ah! But then, as Zack has written most of his own movies, we get an insight into his literary genius. I'm going! Go, 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 go! I'm going! I know you're going. Go, go, go! I'm gonna cover you, because you didn't bring a weapon yourself. Don't know why none of these people are shooting him, but here we are. That guy decided to hold his weapon behind him rather than just shooting the guy who was coming at him with an axe. So he decides to just go on a rampage through all the armed military personnel with his axe. And even then he does it in a bizarre way. He goes up behind a guy with the back, like the front of his axe is pointing away from the enemy. So he's essentially just rubbing wood on him. I mean, look, this is the pointy bit. This is just wood. What did you expect to do with him with the wrong side of an axe? You'd be like, oh, well, I'm glad you saved me, mate. That was nice of you. Thank you. There's so many people in front of him that could just fire the gun. But now he's realized, actually, guns are better than axes. It's almost like I should have been using one of these all the time in the fight. But he saves his fancy woman and you find out, so that's why he finally picked up a weapon. Just as another tank marches onto the battlefield. And that guy wishes he'd not stopped drinking. Also, judging by the smoke, which is pouring out the back of it, I'm guessing that's steam-powered as well, with coal. Yeah, we're going there. So these two have a heart-to-heart about, I thought I just enjoyed fighting, but now I don't actually want to die.
But if I must...
Together.
That's how I feel as well. It's like, if I'm gonna die, at least I can take you with me. It's like, if I'm gonna suffer, at least I can get some small amount of recompense by knowing that you're suffering as well. I've heard of Misery Loves Company, but did we have to make an entire movie about it? So they decide to just stand up in front of the tank and die, but at that moment, the robot decides, I've had enough of watching everybody else die pointlessly for no reason. Maybe I should do something for a bit. So everyone just stands there staring at him rather than shooting him in the head. The turret is literally pointing straight at him. Not firing, though. Everyone's like, hang on, we've got to give him his slow motion time. So he starts punching people, hitting them with guns, before wiping out basically every infantryman around the tank. And seems to be immune to gunfire this time, whereas in the first one, he wasn't. A guy only shot him a few times, he was on the ground. Like he's leveled up. So he runs over to the tank, is stronger than it, rips open the lid as if it's not even there, and blows it up from the inside with one of the grenades they keep in it. I just want to say, if he's that powerful, maybe he should have been in the fight at the start. Saved a load of people's lives. I don't think he has any excuse not to have done. He must have just been watching. No, I do not join the fight late. I join precisely when I am meant to. And he's like, yeah, I did that. Why didn't you do it before? Over on the ship now, though, they've got to get off because it's about to blow up.
I'm almost to you.
But first, I've got to have my 1v1 battle again. You know, the exact same one I had on the previous movie. So we try to make tension as the gun lines up on the town, and you wonder why didn't they fire before? We're at the fight scene from the trailer. It's already in the trailer. We don't have to dissect this one again. There's been enough bad fighting in one movie. Like how slow it is whenever she engages with the guy who has a sword. Because he has a sword. And if someone with a gun engages someone with a sword, the gun guy has to move really slowly because they could just blow his face off whenever they wanted to. So then she realizes these sword things that heat up are actually really hot because for some stupid reason, they made the hilts out of metal. If we're gonna have a hot sword, why are we making the hilt out of heat conductive material? She's like, oh, that's really hot. Tears off a bit of fabric so that she can wrap around the hilt to hold it. And you're like, oh, they could just make the hilt out of something like that. They could have a metal hilt with a rubber outside or something. Meanwhile, we're still aiming the guns on the ship because it's meant to be really dramatic, even though we all know they're not going to fire. Finally, military units have realized maybe we should actually check out the mainframe of the ship as she runs into her nemesis. I guess I can't call him that because Rebel Moon actually made a character called Nemesis. See what you did there, Zack.
Target 5.
Now at this point, I once again give Zack too much credit. Mind you, I suppose that'd be any credit. I'm like, well, obviously they're not going to shoot up the ship, so maybe this was all part of her plan. Again. Maybe they set it up so when the weapons fire, the energy goes through them, which is what detonates the mines in the first place. And actually, she wanted him to fire the guns at the village. And so they make the ship blow up themselves. No, I don't do that. Instead, all the guys at the mainframe, despite the fact that they've been standing there for quite a while at this point, suddenly notice, hang on, we are literally right next to the mainframe with the glowing and beeping mines that she put on it, and I've only just seen it from 2 meters away. They're at eye level. They're glowing LEDs on them. You can't have a universe-conquering empire full of idiots.
Fire. Oh, no.
Now, by this point, I'm even more convinced that it's the shooting which actually blows up the mind. No, it's on a pissing timer.
Fire at will.
They just happen to detonate at precisely the right time to throw the guns off. If they'd set the timers for a few seconds later, they would have hit. Oh, that was lucky. Also, that smoke was like a 2002 pixel image. Like, I haven't complained about the CGI in this movie, but I mean, that is bad. I did complain about having a broken lens, though. So now, the ship is basically done for and starts to crash.
It's Cora.
I don't know why he's so surprised. He was in on the plan that they were going to do, and this was the plan they were going to do. Oh my god, she blew up the ship! Cora! I'm surprised that actually worked!
Take her.
If I was going to take one of the guys by surprise, it would have been the main evil villain bad guy who literally got resurrected from death before, rather than, I don't know, was his name Dave or something? Who cares? Because he's so good you can't shoot him afterwards, you may well shot him in the face from behind. He does also get shot himself, so, you know, live and learn. Maybe they'll have target prioritization next time. What happens next is an anti-grav fight, and I think it looks cool. They're like, oh my god, it's too far, it's too much. It's like, yes, it's the final battle. It's meant to be too much. I just question why the sword fighting is so slow. As the ship apparently turns over, because we never saw it rotating, and starts to crash to the ground, they fall down through the ship. It's unfortunate at this bit, none of them carried a weapon. She's also gripping the sword with her other hand at this point. You know, the superheated metal, which can burn through metal that she's got her hand on. Maybe this is why that woman had metal arms. But there is a saving grace in this fight scene. Even that's not it. No, it's that despite all the wreckage falling through the ship, which for some reason has never hit any of them, Cora can actually get what she pissing deserves. She's the villain of this movie, after all. And an extremely fake-looking punch to the face is the least of our issues. Because after a lot more falling, the dagger sticks into the ground like the sword in the stone. And look, I'm sure that's not setting up anything for later. Along with him. I would like to point out that she is horizontal here. All of gravity is pushing her backwards, and so she's essentially just holding herself at arm's length, horizontal to gravity. It's amazing that she can do that with absolutely no muscle whatsoever. Point out that can't happen. Zack doesn't know how gravity works. Zack thinks gravity happens to the bottom of the camera. Gravity is to the bottom of the camera, so he can run down as much as he wants because the gravity's on his feet. Still on his feet. The camera's still gonna push her downwards. Gravity is now pointing at this angle towards the bottom of the camera. So now we can slide down as I altered the camera a bit so that the gravity changed. Well, I don't care if that's stupid, that's amazing, because Cora is insufferable. I don't even care how much we have to break the rules of physics just so she can get what she pissing deserves. Go on, stamp on it. Well, that was unfortunate. A bit like their hairstyle, really. Yes! And I know, people are like, how can you like this fight scene? This is why. Because Cora, the most evil person in the universe, is finally facing justice. It's like, you killed my princess. He didn't do that, but he might as well have done. Back outside, ship still falling. And now you're like, oh, she's gonna girl boss too close to the sun and just immediately start winning again, like she did in the last movie. Now, he is a bit of an idiot in the fact that he doesn't just, like, shoot her in their head or something. Instead, it turns out he may have a little, obsession.
Open your eyes.
Like, yeah, I need to see the light fade from your eyes. And yet somehow she still manages to be more evil than him. It's impressive. Zack, you have made one hell of a villain in Cora.
Open your eyes. Open your eyes!
Even in the face of this, I'm still like, yeah.
Look at me!
I think I'm supposed to feel sorry for her at this point. I don't. I just think I'm meant to. And I'm not sure if that's my fault or Zack's. I'll let the audience decide on that one. Of course, she does get saved by a fancy man. Another thing I wasn't expecting, although it really should have just been left here. This would have been the place to end the fight, but as we all know, she doesn't have dangly bits, so we can't do that. She can't actually be saved by a man, at least not totally. So she flips him over and throws him through a door. And as he's holding it there, going, oh no, I'm about to fall, and then I'll get resurrected again. She decides to close the door on him and squash him in half before grabbing the sword and making him fall head over heels in love with her. I would have just left it with the guy doing it myself. But they're like, no, empowerment! With that, they somehow, at the bottom of the ship, after all the rubble has fallen from the top of the ship to where they are now, find a working ship with keys in the engine. I'm honestly not sure how, because that looks like a right mess. I also have a feeling that if that fell from space, your little town's dead anyway. That would be like getting hit by an asteroid, because that is going to make a big explosion. So somehow, again, they find a working ship as everyone watches the apocalypse happen, and she flies out. Very lucky we didn't get hit by falling wreckage. I'd just like to point out that she, like every other pilot, still hasn't closed or protected her back doors. And if there's one thing we've learned from this movie, always guard your back doors. You don't know who's ready for them. So her ship seems to be damaged to hell, but just about makes it down to the ground. I mean, at least I think it was damaged. It could have just been a woman driver. Well, whoever lived in that house is dead. And let's be honest, I've seen him park worse at the supermarket, so I think that's the best we could have hoped for. She grabs a fancy man, dumps him on the ground, and we're actually quite lucky they don't start sliding that way, because remember, gravity always goes with the camera, so they are on a slant. And because he did save the most evil person in the universe, he does have to face justice for that action as well. And the justice for the villain is always that they don't survive to the end of the movie. And by saving a villain, he is now a villain.
Stay with me. It's okay. Look at what you've done.
It's okay. I know that justice demands this. So they have a heart-to-heart with absolutely no emotion or chemistry between them at all.
I know what you are.
We all know what she is, mate. It's various 4- and 5-letter words that you can't say on YouTube. And at that moment, fighters arrive. Nobody knows why. The fight's basically over.
Form up on me!
Late as always. I mean, we did have 5 days notice that we needed to be here. Start taking out all the other fighters. You know those fighters. The ones that haven't done anything the entire time. They've just flown around for a bit. So they have a dogfight in the sky. It would have been nice to have seen the fighters kill anybody ever during the fight. Start to do bombing runs on the remaining infantry, and the entire row are like ships which are on the ground, which at no point have we ever seen. What were these doing during the battle? Everyone else was running around with an axe. You have multiple ships. It really seems like they just needed her to turn up and do something, and so we just spawned a load of ships for her to blow up that have never existed before. Personally, I would have cut that entire scene. It was really quite pathetic. So now he gets with her, and you're like, why though? And does she even know that that's not Cora? We ask the big questions on this channel, folks. They end up getting together. I don't know why. Also, when I say they, I mean plural together. I don't mean her. And in fact, they show so many couples getting together at the end of it. When we see Titus, it's like, who's he gonna get with? Titus! Well, I never saw that coming. And I really have no desire to. He doesn't look too happy about the night he's gonna have later either. He's like, oh, really? Is that all that's left? Alright, maybe he's a bit more enthusiastic than I thought. So she realises her fancy boy's dead.
I love you. I love you.
Probably should have said that 5 minutes earlier when he was alive, mate. Your timing is awful. It's worse than those fighter pilots. And then we move into burning the bodies.
By remembering their names when next we bring in the harvest.
In slow motion. What a bunch of tossers.
A season from now, 100 seasons.
That's just Zack telling you how many movies he wants to release in this universe. Ever the optimist. And that's why she's like, I've lied to you. I'm not honorable or brave.
I know, child.
I've always known that you were a murderous psychopath that I shouldn't have been working for. I've always known you were the true villain of the movie. That you assassinated the princess for absolutely no reason whatsoever and then ran away when somebody tried to put you in prison for it.
I know.
You know that I'm Arthur Leas.
We know that you're a traitor to the Empire.
Adopted daughter of the Regent Belisarius.
I don't know why you keep giving us... He's already said he knows, love.
And the assassin of the Princess Issa.
I know your name, yes.
But you didn't assassinate the princess, because it turns out you're crap at that as well.
For the princess is still alive.
And that's the twist for the next movie. She's still alive, because nobody wondered, how come that she's glowing? from a chest. Doesn't anyone find that a bit odd?
You thought she could be killed so easily?
I mean, yes. Literally everybody else in the universe is. Unless you're holding a pair of axes, in which case you seem to bend lasers around you. And so he's like, well, this gives you a reason, doesn't it, to continue into the next movie? So we can have you back again for some reason. Now you can protect her and fight. It's like, well, where? Why? She didn't protect her in the first place. Why are we getting her murderer to protect her? This doesn't make any sense.
If you do choose to fight, I will stand with you.
I mean, that's all well and good, mate, but can't we have somebody who can actually fight? Look, I'm sure if I needed my shirt ironed, this would be a great opportunity for you, love. But right now, we need someone with dangly bits. You don't count, love. And that's when they group together to go and save the princess. What a pile of twaddle. Slow motion, heroic moments as they save Wheat. A story that makes literally no sense whatsoever. And villains who forget why they're doing anything and end up picking up their motivation from someone who told them it in the first place. Combine all that with cracked camera lenses and a budget that was way too much. And the only thing that Netflix should have been realizing with this movie is, yeah. So Disney were right not to allow this in Star Wars, weren't they? Zack Snyder is going to take these two movies and make extra long versions of them. Then he wants to make even more movies in 2 parts, which is astonishing, because for somebody who doesn't really put, like, a plot into Rebel Moon at all, I don't know why he thinks it takes so long to tell it. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe. More videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.